things right now, just to make sure everything's working. My resolution apparently is not optimal, but I don't really care. Okay. So this time I will try to not cough or clear my throat too much. Okay, so these are just some SCPs that were recommended to me, and I've been meaning to get to them personally, and so I thought, hey, it might be kind of fun if, instead of just reading them myself, it might be kind of cool to read them on stream, since I've been meaning to do a stream. So, yeah. So here we go. I'm going to start out with SCP-682, Object Class, Keter, Special Containment Procedures. SCP-682 must be destroyed as soon as possible. At this time, no means available to SCP teams are capable of destroying SCP-682. Only able to cause massive physical damage. SCP-682 should be contained with a 5 meter by 5 meter by 5 meter chamber with 25 centimeters reinforced acid-resistant steel plate lining all inside surfaces. The containment chamber should be filled with hydrochloric acid until SCP-682 is submerged and incapacitated. Any attempts of SCP-682 to move, speak, or breach containment should be reacted to quickly and with full force as called for by the circumstances. Personnel are forbidden to speak to SCP-682 for fear of provoking a rage state. All unauthorized personnel attempting to communicate to SCP-682 will be restrained and removed by force. Due to its frequent attempts at containment breach, difficulty of containment and incapacitation, and high threat of Foundation exposure, SCP-682 is to be contained in site. Redacted. The Foundation will use the best of its resources to maintain all land within 50 kilometers clear of human development. SCP-682 is a large, vaguely reptile-like creature of unknown origin. It appears to be extremely intelligent and was observed to engage in complex communication with SCP-079 during their limited time of exposure. SCP-682 appears to have a hatred of all life, which has been expressed in several interviews during containment. See Addendum 682-B. SCP-682 has always been observed to have extremely high strength, speed, and reflexes, though exact levels vary with its form. SCP-682's physical body grows and changes very quickly, growing or decreasing in size as it consumes or sheds material. SCP-682 gains energy from anything it ingests, organic or inorganic. Digestion seems to be aided by a set of filtering gills inside of SCP-682's nostrils, which are able to remove unstable matter from any liquid solution, enabling it to constantly regenerate from the acid it is contained in. SCP-682's regenerative capabilities and resilience are staggering, An SCP-682 has been seen moving and speaking with its body 87% destroyed or rotted. In case of containment breach, SCP-682 is to be tracked and recaptured by all available mobile task forces, and no teams with fewer than 7 members are cleared to engage it. Date redacted, redacted, redacted. To date redacted, redacted, redacted. Attempted breaches have been numbered at 17, while successful breaches had numbered at 6. See Addendum 682-D. I'll put up a picture. Sorry, I'm mostly reading this on my phone since it's next one is SCP-5140. Oh wait, I think I'm having stream issues. Okay, I think we're good again. I was trying to use Dropbox to get the photo amp. I learned my lesson. Okay, so SCP-5140. This is a level 4 secret. Containment class Keter. Disruption class EKHI. There's like a 4 with an I. This is a pretty fancy article, I'd say. So risk class critical. Here's a picture of Mount Everest, for reasons I'm sure we'll find out soon. I hope so, anyway. Special containment procedures. Due to the exorbitant cost and difficulty in safely extracting SCP-5140 instances from Mount Everest, MTF Delta-14 Winter Wonderland will periodically ascend Everest to bury any SCP-5140 instances in the snow. Campaigns are underway to tighten restrictions for climbing permits for Mount Everest on both the Nepalese and Tibetan sides. Description: SCP-5140 refers to a number of frozen corpses scattered across Mount Everest, located in the Himalayas of Tibet. The number of SCP-5140 instances is unclear, but accepted to be over 100 and below 200 at the time of writing. SCP-5140 instances are ectoentropic. When physically exposed to heat of any form, including body heat, they will absorb it without raising their temperature, which rests at approximately 10 Celsius or 50 Fahrenheit. This process usually renders physical contact with SCP-5140 in instances fatal. If an individual dies as a result of contact with SCP-5140 instances, their corpse will become another SCP-5140 instance. Pretty spooky. A picture of the previous SCP is pretty creepy. I encourage you to go look that picture up on the SCP Wiki. Okay, so there's some addendums here. So, Addendum 5140.1, Mission Record 11.12.2015. So I'm guessing December 11th, 2015. If that's in the format that I think it's in. I don't know. (111222015) redacted Z. Priority traffic to base camp from MTFD14 C. Smith 9. Annual 5140 expedition. Status update. Approaching summit. It centered 34 bodies across Chinese route. Buried all. Provision steady. Likely to reach summit tomorrow. In a response, priority traffic 2 from base camp. Annual 5140 expedition. Acknowledged. Continue. Priority traffic to base camp from C. Smith 9. Annual 515 expedition. Encountering minor anomaly on instances. Exceptionally low temps result in muscle contraction post-mortem. Bodies curled up and frozen. Hard to pry open before burial. Might have to bury like that. Priority traffic to C. Smith from base camp. Annual 540 expedition. Acknowledged. Permission granted. Bury as convenient. Priority traffic to base camp from C. Smith 9. Annual 5140 expedition. Approaching summit. Abnormally high numbers of instances. Encountered 19 yesterday. Old instances getting unburied. To C. Smith from base camp. Likely. Strong winds blowing off snow. Buried deeper if possible. To base camp from C. Smith 9. Approached Hillary Step this morning. Will ascend to summit in an hour or two. 14 more bodies since last contact. Team unnerved. I need to get something to drink, excuse me. unfortunately water from the tap, which I normally wouldn't mind, but I think our city's water has lead in it. Yeah. But I don't really have anything else to drink right now. I'm sorry I said I wouldn't clear my throat and stuff like that. I'll try to stop that now. Here's a little bit of ice sounds. Pretty nice, right? Okay. Priority traffic to C. Smith 9 from base camp. Annual 540 expedition. Understandable. Almost there now. To base camp from C. Smith. Discovered lone body on summit. Attempted to bury. Shovel hit something. Is stuck. Can't pull it out. Turned around, body was gone. Fell off the summit? Don't know. Team is rattled. Please advise. To C. Smith 9 from base camp. Acknowledged. Sending out survey teams. Attempting to see if something was seen. Falling from summit. Use spare shovel if more bodies. Encountered. Orders are to descend from Chinese route using already cleared path. Cut speed. To base camp from C. Smith. Descended step. Patrick touched one. Me and Arnold buried him. To C. Smith 9 from base camp. 540 expedition. Acknowledged. To base camp from C. Smith 9. 540 expedition. Emergency. Attempted to descend Chinese route. Discovered camp remains torn apart. 3 instances curled up in tent. Instances moving. Hurried descent. To C. Smith 9 from base camp. Acknowledged. Get down safely. We'll move forward from there. Personnel ready to receive you at Camp V. Stay safe. I'm guessing that's Camp 5. To base camp from C. Smith 9. Mass of them blocking the path. When reached out from ground, grabbed Arnold. He's one of them. I ran back up. Can't go back down. Can't go back up. Arnold was carrying provisions. Only have 1 can of oxygen left. Help. To C. Smith 9 from base camp. Attempt to use flare gun to clear path. Stay at safe distance. Team is already en route to extract you. Stay calm, minimize breathing. From C. Smith 9. To base camp from C. Smith 9. They're moving. DNT, come to the summit. It's not safe. Don't come to the summit. It's not safe. The ground isn't safe. Don't let climbers on Everest. The mountain is danger. To C. Smith 9 from base camp. Team is arriving in less than 2 hours. Hold steady. A rescue detachment of MTF Delta 14 arrived at Charlie Smith's GPS tracker an hour and 36 minutes later. They cited no unburied SCP-5140 instances on their approach. Smith's body was discovered, lacking the signs of typical of an SCP-410 instance. Autopsy indicates he died from exposure and suffocation due to inadequate oxygen intake. Further investigation indicated his oxygen intake valve was damaged during the ascent to the summit. Bodies of Arnold Hillary and Patrick Edmund were discovered higher up at Everest. Hillary died from exposure while Edmund was found to be an SCP-410 instance. It is currently believed that Smith's inadequate oxygen led him to hallucinating SCP-410 instances, blocking their path and destroying their campsite. Hillary's foot was found wedged into a rockfall, likely the source of his immobility. This incident has been taken into account, and supply manifests for future expeditions, adjusting accordingly. Okay, I think I'm going to move on to another story. This is SCP-1230. Object Class Safe. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-1230 has been relocated to a secure storage locker behind the desk of Site-12's main library. Access is available to clearance to personnel deemed to be in satisfactory psychological condition by psychiatric staff. Personnel accessing SCP-1230 must submit written accounts of their dreams within 48 hours of access and submit to follow-up psychological examination. SCP-1230 is an unlabeled green hardcover book with no apparent exceptional qualities. When SCP-1230 is opened, it displays the phrase, "A hero is born," on the first page viewed, while all other pages will be blank, resetting once the book is closed. This has no obvious effects at first, but upon falling asleep, the reader will dream of a fantasy world where they are the protagonist of a troubled land. Dreamers are completely aware of all senses work just as well as when awake. Results vary depending on the imagination of the reader and are mostly attuned to the fantasies of adventure that the reader would enjoy. Results vary depending on the imagination of the reader. In the mind of the reader, these dreams have been documented to last anywhere from 45 seconds, see Experiment 1230-3, to 200 years, see Experiment 1230-5. But in reality, the reader will usually never be asleep longer than they would normally. Upon waking, the reader is able to remember every aspect of their dream in detail. In SCP-1230-induced dreams, there is always a character called the Bookkeeper, SCP-130-1, appearing as a bearded man in a green cloak who claims to be the personification of SCP-1230 himself. SCP-12301 has been reported to be very amicable and helpful towards dreamers. It is stated that it enjoys creating these fantasy-scapes and always tries to shape them in such a way that the dreamer garners the most entertainment out of it. It has expressed sorrow when the dream comes to an end and asks the dreamer to please visit again soon. Well, hey Destiny, I'm really glad that you're enjoying the stream. Thank you for your comment. Discovery. In a small bookstore located, data expunged. The shopkeeper had no recollection of owning the unlabeled book, but attempted to sell a story to local newspapers about a magical dream book. The Foundation was able to dispel the story as a hoax, and SCP-1230 was confiscated. Experiment 12301. Dr. F. In an attempt to test its effective range, opened SCP-1230 and boarded a flight to his hometown of Redacted, where he spent most of the night in a hotel. Upon his return, Dr. F. reported that SCP-1230-1 appeared in his dreams and explained that once you read A Hero is Born, the dream is immediately implanted into your subconscious, after which SCP-12301 is able to manipulate it remotely. Dr. F. expresses appreciation for SCP-12301's cooperation. Experiment 12302. A camera was set up above SCP-1230 and, using a mechanical arm, the book was opened. All pages were revealed to be blank. It seems that SCP-1230 is only effective when opened by beings that are able to have dreams. SCP-1230-1 explained to a subsequent dreamer that it is actually only able to affect beings with an imagination, and most creatures such as animals would not be affected. Experiment 12303. 1D class was instructed to open the book, and after much reassurance that his experience would only be dreams, ordered to immediately find a way to kill himself in the dream. The subject was asleep for merely 45 seconds before he awoke. Excuse me, sorry. Didn't mean to clear my throat that loudly. The subject was asleep for merely 45 seconds before he awoke with a start and a nervous sweat. He reported being at the summit of a volcano called the Ashen Spire on a quest for Callidius, the Blessed Blade. When asked how the subject knew the names, he stated, "It's like I knew them all along." He apparently leapt into the volcano and felt an intense heat before awakening. D-Class requested permission to give it another go. Request was denied. Experiment 12304. 1D Class was instructed to open the book and attempt to non-fatally injure himself in his dream. After 6 hours, the D-Class awoke and reported that he was able to feel a numbed sort of pain, where it was never so intense as to be unbearable. He also reported meeting an elderly cloaked man who asked him why he was harming himself, but thanked him for not immediately killing himself like that other rude fellow. Experiment 12305. Professor Booth filed a request for access to SCP-130 and was quickly permitted, given his level 4 clearance. Staff members recalled that Professor Booth was almost visibly shaking with excitement. Some reported that Professor Booth was an avid fan of tabletop and role-playing games. Surveillance shows that Professor Booth opened the book, read the phrase, sat down beside the desk, and promptly fell asleep. Staff members were alarmed when Professor Booth did not awake after 15 hours and alerted security. The on-site medical staff were able to confirm that Professor Booth was still alive and in good health. After approximately 24 hours since falling asleep, Professor Booth began to move, reported to have slowly raised his head and looked around the room, appearing deeply confused. Security entered the room to ensure he was alright, to which he replied, "Where am I?" He was sent to medical, where staff explained where and who he was. Several minutes later, Professor B appeared to have regained his memory and excused himself to the restroom. When 15 minutes passed and Professor B had not exited, the nurse entered to find that he had hanged himself with his belt. A scribbled message on the wall revealed his last words. "I can't go back to this." Dr. F went to ask SCP-12301 what had happened, but upon opening SCP-1230, all of its plain pages were soaking wet with the same message on every page. "I'm so sorry, I never intended for this to happen. I just wanted to make people happy," repeated over and over. SCP-1230 remained in this state for 3 weeks, and its desk had to be wiped dry bi-weekly. In an attempt to communicate, Dr. F placed a sticky note inside SCP-1230 with the statement, "I'd like to talk to you, if that's alright." The next morning, Dr. F filed a report about a dream he had concerning SCP-12301. Report 123014. Shortly after the report was filed, surveillance showed Dr. F slipping another small paper into SCP-1230. A few days later, SCP-1230 began showing its usual "A hero is born" greeting once again. When asked what the note said, Dr. F declined to give detailed comment, simply stating that he just gave it some friendly advice. Addendum 1230-A. During initial testing, SCP-12301 asked dreaming personnel if it could be relocated to an area with many books, preferably fiction, so that it could think of even better ways to construct its fantasyscapes. After numerous experiments were performed to ensure that SCP-1230 posed no threat, the request was accepted and SCP-1230 has been relocated to Site 12's library. I really like that one. I feel like there's some addendum to that where it's like, I tried to tell him, like, none of this is real, and you'll eventually wake up from all of this, but, he just kept, ignoring me and not listening, until eventually it all did end. Which is, like, pretty sad, dude, if you think about it, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so, I think that this is, oh, hello. Welcome to the stream. I think I'm gonna read one more story. Maybe two. I'm not sure. And then I'll have to go. But yeah, this has been fun. I think that this went a little better than I think my other stream went, which I wasn't sure if it was too casual. Anyways, so I'll start reading the next one then. SCP-096, Object Class Euclid. If you don't know what these SCP classes are, by the way, safe generally means just what it sounds like. It's not gonna hurt anything. It's just a bit weird. And in a lot of cases, it can actually sometimes be pretty interesting or kind of funny or just kind of strange in like kind of a obscure way. Like I really like those stories, like one that I read on my channel, I think it's like 261. It's like an alien like vending machine that just vends really oddly specific like items in different languages, or items that you would know, like, you know, Pepsi, but it's like some strange flavor like Dragon Twist that they don't make, you know, stuff like that. Or like one I really liked was like Dark Side Cola, which is like cola with like something spicy in it. And I used to think about that anytime I would get they had those Coca-Cola cinnamons, and they had those out for a while, but I think they were only out for a limited time. I really wish they would have kept them, because I actually really liked those a lot. Thank you, Lane Lisha Kennedy, saying I'll try to be here for your other streams. That's awesome, thank you. Yeah, I want to try to do more of these. If you guys have any ideas, like put them in the chat, or put them in the comments after the stream is over, and I'll consider those as like stream ideas. I'll either, you know, read more cryptids, or I'll read more SCPs. But yeah, thank you guys for coming in out. So, back to those object classes. So, safe is just safe, but it's kind of weird. Euclid is like somewhere in between. So there's like safe, Euclid, and Keter. Keter is like, it's very dangerous and like needs to be contained. I think that there's stuff above Keter, but it's like sometimes it varies from story to story. So usually the three agreed upon are like safe, Euclid, and Keter. Euclid kind of being somewhere in between, but Euclid also meaning like it could possibly be dangerous. Work, like, you know, test it, see what happens, that sort of thing. So Joe in chat said, you know that one SCP where it's like a box that has a ticking noise on it? Yeah, I love that one. No, I don't. If you know which one it is, I'll definitely try and find it. Let me try and look for that. Oh, it's an autocomplete. Oh. SCP-902. Yeah, Lane, I did another stream on cryptids that was pretty fun. I like Mothman and the Fresno guys a lot. Yeah, I think that this is the one. So I'll go ahead and read this one then. SCP-902. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-902 has been relegated to Arctic Base Theta 12, the only SCP to be contained at this site. The site is to be staffed by a team of 50 security personnel. At this time, no research is to be done on SCP-902. Knowledge of SCP-902 beyond its number is to be limited to Level 3 staff and lower. It is imperative that only a limited number of senior staff know of the existence of SCP-902. Only 105 is allowed to know about SCP-902 at any time. In the event of a security breach from inside Arctic Base Theta-12, the on-site hydrogen bomb is to be detonated remotely. SCP-902 must be guarded at all times against premature destruction. Description: SCP-902 is a box roughly the size of an adult human head. It measures 30 centimeters by 15 centimeters by 19 centimeters. It appears to be an ammunition box of a type used roughly 30 years ago. Despite this item having been in Foundation custody for roughly 60 years, SCP-902 is made of lead. The composition of the item inside SCP-902 is unknown. SCP-902 emits what has been described as a ticking sound, and anyone who hears this sound becomes convinced that the item is counting down. When opened, the box appears empty. However, the ticking remains. The object continues counting down. Anyone who becomes aware of SCP-902, whether through personal interaction or by reading this report, becomes convinced that whatever is in the box is horribly dangerous and needs to be destroyed as soon as it finishes counting down, and not before. Staff exposed to SCP-902 will typically continue to attempt to open and then close the box, trying to find the object inside. There is no object. There is an object. It has to be destroyed. When the countdown stops. We are doing great work. We have to be stopped. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I really like that. Oh, those are your favorite cryptids too? Yeah, Mothman's pretty rad. I like that guy. Bookmark that one, that was pretty cool. Okay, let me find another one here. Okay. Here's the next one I have ready. SCP-096. Object Class Euclid. So again, that's like, it's a little bit unknown. At least as far as I know, that's what it means, is like, the SCP Foundation is still like testing it and finding out exactly what it is or how it works. I kind of find it fascinating when things like stay Euclid and they're not really sure, like they're still not sure how it works, like it displays just really erratic, unpredictable behavior. It just does things that they can't really like quantify. Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that there was a Mothman statue. Yeah, I'll have to find some other cryptids. But yeah, probably do another reading stream like this, hopefully pretty soon. It's been a while since I did the cryptid one, so hopefully I won't take as long to do another one, but yeah, it's pretty fun. SCP-096 Object Class Euclid Special Containment Procedures SCP-096 is to be contained in its cell, a 5 meter by 5 meter by 5 meter airtight steel cube, at all times. Weekly checks for any cracks or holes are mandatory. There are to be absolutely no video surveillance or optical tools of any kind inside SCP-096's cell. Security personnel will use pre-installed pressure sensors and laser detectors to ensure SCP-096's presence inside the cell. Any and all photos, video, or recordings of SCP-096's likeliness are strictly forbidden, without approval from Dr. N05. Description: SCP-096 is a humanoid creature measuring approximately 2.38 meters in height. Subject shows very little muscle mass, with preliminary analysis of body mass suggesting mild malnutrition. Arms are grossly out of proportion with the rest of the subject's body, with an approximate length of 1.5 meters each. Skin is mostly devoid of pigmentation, with no sign of any body hair. SCP-096's jaw can open 4 times the norm of an average human. Other facial features remain similar to an average human, with the exception of the eyes, which are also devoid of pigmentation. It is not yet known whether SCP-096 is blind or not. It shows no signs of any higher brain functions, and is not considered to be sapient. SCP-096 is normally extremely docile, with pressure sensors inside its cell indicating it spends most of the day pacing by the eastern wall. However, when someone views SCP-096's face, whether it be directly via video recording or even a photograph, it will enter a stage of considerable emotional distress. Can relate. SCP-096 will cover its face with its hands and begin screaming, crying, and babbling incoherently. Approximately 1 to 2 minutes after the first viewing, SCP-096 will begin running to the person who viewed its face, who will from this point be referred to as SCP-096-1. Documented speeds have varied from 35 kilometers per hour to kilometers per hour. It seems to depend on distance from SCP-096-1. At this point, no known material or method can impede SCP-096's progress. The actual position of SCP-096-1 does not seem to affect SCP-096's response. It seems to have an innate sense of SCP-096-1's location. Note: this reaction does not occur when viewing artistic depictions. See Document 096-1. Upon arriving at SCP-096-1's location, SCP-096 will proceed to kill and data expunged SCP-096-1. 100% of cases have left no traces of SCP-061. SCP-061 SCP-096-1. SCP-096 will then sit down for several minutes before regaining its composure and become docile once again. It will then attempt to make its way back to its natural habitat, data redacted. Due to the possibility of a mass chain reaction, including breach of Foundation secrecy and large civilian loss of life, retrieval of subject should be considered alpha priority. Dr. has also been positioned for immediate termination of SCP-096. See Interview 096-1. Termination order has been approved and is to be carried out by Dr. on data redacted. See Incident 096-1A. Let's see that. Incident 0961A. Cell containment has been attained. Yes, Doctor. Let me see the security footage. Begin log. A large steel cube is shown in the middle of a research lab, which is teeming with a dozen or so researchers. In view of the camera is a control booth displaying readings from the various sensors inside the cube. Fast forward 1 minute 32 seconds. The control booth operator leans forward, alerted to the various readings on the sensors. Approximately 5 seconds later, a steel wall in the containment cube receives a sizable dent bending outward. The dent becomes larger before breaking. SCP-096 is seen bending the steel away, frantically trying to escape. Emergency plates drop on the cube as a containment breach is sounded. The security tape has SCP-096's face blurred out as per containment protocol. 2 security teams enter the room as SCP-096 breaks out of containment. Live rounds and tranquilizer darts are fired to no visible effect. Approximately 90% of researchers and security personnel have directly viewed SCP-096's face, and a code Lima is declared. The room and surrounding areas are sealed and flush with class nerve agent. Approximately 2 minutes later, SCP-096 breaches research site and travels kilometers an hour through the outside desert traveling and log. Echo Romeo was designed to immediate contaminant breach. When we realized just how big a breach we were dealing with, we were completely overwhelmed. Funny how even the best and brightest minds in the world can be so unprepared. So you were saying it is your own fault? Absolutely not. This was a new discovery in SCP-096's behavior. We had no way to know, and we are lucky it did not turn into an XK. That's pretty great. Okay, so I think I did this for as long as I wanted to. It was about an hour and a half. Alright, so I've got to go now. Thank you for joining me. I was really happy to see some people come in and join after a bit. That was really nice. And one person actually recommended an SCP too, which was really great. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. Okay, so with that, I will end the stream. Thank you for watching, and stay scared and all that. Bye bye.